telecom operators who are there in the country. We brought in the government. So the government, telecom operators, and the institutes, academic institutes of repute, that is the top 6 IITs, IIC Bangalore, and IIM Ahmedabad, each one supported by one operator. And the government is the binding force. We created this for undertaking basically capacity building, create an environment of innovation, and help in policy making. Because in telecom, a lot of policy interventions at the right time is required if you want to achieve your desired goal. A lot of issues. Because what works outside do not work here because the scale is large here. So a lot of policy interventions are required. So, and also get into the standards. Till 3G, we got 3G technology coming. There's not a single standard which has gone to the global standards. A single IPR from this country has gone to the global standards. But yet, we are the second largest consumer in the world. We got second largest network, second largest subscriber base, but not a single IPR has gone to the global standards. At least with this creation of these centers, now it is not, we have made minuscule contributions though, around some of the standards have gone to 4G and 5G technology. That the TCOEs are working on. We have come out with around 30 technologies, which each technology can have multiple applications and which can be used, which has been approved by the operator. Yes, I want this technology. The IITs, they have sat down there, put their heads together, come out with the solution, but at the end of it, it has not come in the right form factor that can go to the operator. Because the business model in this country is different. The operators are not the technology companies. They depend on a lot of outsourcing model. Perhaps it is a required, desired model when you want to scale up fast. But to be a technologically sound industry, we have to have a lot of expertise within the industry itself, which is lacking. Because of that, those technologies which are available, it is there in the TCOE website. If anybody goes, will see that the 27 technology, and we have now come out with a few more, around 30 to 33 technologies are available, accepted by the operator, tested in the network, working fine, but not being commercialized. There is a gap. There is an industry which has to come up to fill this gap. We do not find those industries. Or we have to support the entrepreneurs in such a way who has got a lot of fire in the belly, can take these technologies and go and put it in the operator's network. I was just talking to Anand. This is one area where Persistent can fill the gap. Or companies like that can fill the gap. We're looking for such companies. Then we have also created the Telecom Sector Skill Council, where we aim to skill off 5 million people in the telecom domain in the next 10 years, create 25,000 trainers and 500 training institutions throughout this country. And I was told just off late, we thought we have gone a very optimistic figure, but just last 15 days back, I was told, oh, this is too low a figure. We require 10 million. That's because the broadband is coming forth. And we require the broadband alone, we require around 3 to 4 million people to work on. So that organization has come. We require that 500 training partners. It can be universities, it can be polytechnics, it can be training providers, private training providers who can fill this gap, who can come forward and do the training and come to this figure. We require assessors because we want to bring in quality by third-party assessment. we require perhaps around 10 to 15,000 assessors throughout the country, wherever they are. It is an opportunity for the people who are had enough money, done a good job in the industry, wants to relax now. You can part your knowledge by becoming assessors in the skill system. So this has been opened up. The government, both the central government, the state governments, everybody is giving a lot of thrust on this. Then only we will be able to use the demographic dividend, which we see it now. Yes, we are a young population, we can achieve so much. Otherwise, the dividend can be a problem later on if we do not skill them. So this is an urgent area where the government is giving thrust, the industry has to come forward, and so is the academic institutions. We created yet another organization called Telecom Standard Development Society of India, TSDSI. This will collate your research, your IPRs, all intellectual property which is being created and remains in the lab, never see the light of the day. This organization will collate all those things, go to the international forum, say, hey guys, I have this technology, I want to put it. So this can come out from the academic institutions, this can come out from the industries. So that organization also has come up. So it is an opening which has been created. Perhaps for the next 5 to 10 years' time, we should be seen in globally as a telecom leader. We have also done another thing is industry is not there, not sound in telecom domain in the country. We want to promote telecom entrepreneurs, which is a difficult task because the service is a network-based service. Every product you have to test in a network, a live network, which is not available many a times. And that is why even if despite the best efforts from Department of Science and Technology, DIT or any other organizations who are promoting entrepreneurs, nothing much has come out in telecom. Special emphasis is now being given by Department of Telecom. They have created a fund of 2,500 crores to support the entrepreneurs in the next 5 years' time. So these are the bunch of activities which is going on now, and you people should be aware of it and take the best out of it. Now but the journey is quite long and quite strenuous, and it can happen only with everybody's determination. Now coming to the next area of where the technology leading to, where you want to focus. The second question which he had asked me, though low priority. But if you look at it, our requirement, how you want to reach out to the villages. The government has done enough now to put optical fiber up to panchayats, up to blocks. It has gone. Panchayats, it is now going. We've got the CSEs where broadband is going. So the cables will be going, broadband will be available to the panchayat. Thereafter, it goes by wireless. So that is the policy overall the government is following. And accordingly in this country, the technology will grow in that line. The fiber optic to the panchayat level will be the technology. The devices around the fiber optic will be the technology, which will be forthcoming in a very near future. It has already started coming. LTE Advance is the technology which is being supported now globally for the last mile connectivity. That will bring the broadband to the common man, to the villager. And Wi-Fi, which has been all the time we have been only using in the houses, is coming as a big winner. It is coming in 2.4 megahertz because the spectrum prices has become very costly. The government is now trying to fish out the maximum money out of the operators through the spectrum auctioning, which is going on, and you have seen it for yourself. So the Wi-Fi is taking a space there, in both in 2.4 gigahertz, 5.4 gigahertz, and also 60 gigahertz. That's also a lot of activities happening. The technology is emerging towards Wi-Fi, emerging with LTA or vice versa. It is happening. So a lot of areas where Wi-Fi activity will go on. So this is what is broadly the major telecom technology area where we'll be moving. Now, if we come to the last question, where the job lies in the telecom now, if you look at the model where the growth is happening, voice, almost we have touched the bottom in the price range, and everybody demands, the government also sometimes demands free voice, because speaking is my birthright. So I also, when we started this TCOEs, I said voice, the aim should be voice should be free, because speaking is my birthright. And if I have to pay, I have to pay for listening or for doing something else, not for voice. And it is coming towards that. Then where the business proposition, the business proposition is in the data. Data and data and data. Now it is at the bottom of the pyramid at around 10 to 11%. So if this has to grow, the business has to grow, the innovations have to grow around, the jobs also will grow around this area. So we'll be finding a lot of data centers coming up, or working technology coming around data, or cloud computing, and all these things will happen around the data. We'll have broadband, which is coming. Lot of broadband, the people who can sell broadband, who can sell data, those are the type of people who require, who can go and configure different type of devices in a customer premises. Be a mobile, be a laptop, be your TV, be your fridge, or your AC, with machine-to-machine connectivity which is going to happen. So all these machines will be talking to each other. And the way is the Wi-Fi and the broadband. That's why they will be communicating to each other and communicating to external world. So what will happen then? We'll have, on the data, we'll have education, commerce, medicine, all those things will come, and also all machine to machine will keep talking it. You have to create data. You have to create data systems. If e-governance is one of the area where a lot of data lies in the government. So the data has to be converted to a compatible means where it can ride on the mobile platform. So that is one area where a lot of job will emerge. It will emerge in the data services, selling the data. In fact, the broadband, the government, the other day told me, we require 5 million people for selling the data. So that is the skill set which is required for scaling data, how to sell data. We have to develop applications. Either the application can be with the operators or can be the mobile handset providers, but the applications have to come up. What you are using today is a lot of applications which comes developed by the people for other countries to meet their requirements. We have to perhaps develop applications for our country, for our need, so that if I use that, I am ready to pay some money out of my pocket. So that is where the growth is going to take place. But for all this, the skill, the right skill should be there. And that is what I think MIT has started. Skilling your people, that is the first step they have taken. And there are a lot of other courses which will be coming. We at the TSSC creating all this so that the right courses, what the industry wants, are already defined and there. You will have a skill session in the afternoon. Perhaps you'll listen more. But what you are trying to do is basically in the skilling system, what industry wants should be taught in the colleges. And the gap, if there is any, should be bridged by the people coming out from the industry and teaching that, so that the boy or the girl who goes to the industry is ready for the job from the next day. That's I have to say. And one more advice I'll give. Why you want to be job? You say, where is the job? Who will create this job? You, as an entrepreneur, can create it. If the institutions, we have at least see that a couple of management institute heads are here. So if instead of department of placement, if you can create a department of entrepreneur development, perhaps a lot good can be done, and these youngsters can be a job creator rather than a job seeker. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your thought-provoking message and informing us about the government initiatives. I now call upon Dr. Anand Deshpande, Founder, Chairman, and MD of Persistent Systems, to deliver the keynote address.
Okay, so good morning all of you, and it's a pleasure to be here. I'd like to first thank Commodore Gina for really setting the stage up very nicely, and actually he has pretty much said everything I have on my slides. So we agree completely in terms of what he is saying. But what I think I can do is just to show you that I also thought like that I'll show you the slides, otherwise you might say that I was just making this up. But that said, I'll give you a little bit of thoughts on some of this, and I'll give you very briefly my bias. So I've been a data guy for all my life. I've been a database guy, and for me, telecom is really the pipes for moving data. And now that we have the pipes ready to do more things, that's sort of why this is really exciting. And this is really a good time for people who are young and sitting in the back who should be thinking about what's next. So essentially, I have 3 by 3 by 3 messages in terms of what this presentation is all about. The first part is, yes, mobile devices are ubiquitous. Mobile phones are getting everywhere. The numbers are very large. And I think we are beyond a point where, you know, this is not really an issue. They are there now. The second part is regarding data. One of the biggest challenges has been smartphones. But yes, in the last few years, we have seen the smartphone penetration has also gone up quite significantly, and we see a uptick over the next few years where the smartphone penetration will grow enough that data devices is not going to be an issue anymore. There are some numbers that people have projected that said that, you know, Google today, 40% of searches from India come from mobile devices. 30% of Facebook activity in India comes from mobile devices. So clearly, mobile devices as the first internet screen for many people has already happened. So I think this is a done thing now. And this is really a good, and again, a lot of this stuff has happened rather recently, meaning if you look at it, the growth rates have been very dramatic in the last year to 18 months. So this is really when you start to see critical mass in terms of internet access on mobile devices. The bandwidth part, which was the third piece, now with video, movies, people trying to push movies and data on the video, clearly that has started to happen in a big way. And so just to summarize, the 3 parts that are necessary for the technology infrastructure to be available to make something happen, which is the number of devices, second being smartphones, which is the data platform that you need to have, and the bandwidth are pretty much now available, and you can take them for granted that these are really going to happen. Okay? Now let's go to the next set of 3 things that I think are important considering that this thing has happened. One of them is cloud computing. The second part is going to be Internet of Things, which is really where beyond just data devices being mobile phones, now we are looking at data devices to be instruments, sensors, and a whole bunch of other things. And the fact that you're going to have lots of data getting collected from these devices and the ability to manage them through the cloud makes this whole data analytics and data management a very interesting opportunity. So those are the 3 next set of things. That is the layer that gets formed now that the infrastructure of telephones, meaning mobile devices, smart devices, and bandwidth already set up. Cloud is really a big place where a lot of this activity is going to happen. This allows a very different kind of opportunity for entrepreneurs who are looking at new applications. Now you are not restricted to doing everything within the bandwidth or within the carrier's network, but potentially there are opportunities for creating some of these applications on a cloud where there are some different kinds of possibilities, and one can really set this up without actually being inside the network for the carriers. But this is a challenge from the carrier's point of view as well, because what is the role do the carriers want to play in this data network, and are they really going to be part of the cloud, or are they just going to be dumb pipes? And that's a decision that needs to be made. But I think overall the data networks are here, cloud computing is going to happen and is going to get consumed through mobile devices in a very big way. And this creates a whole set of new opportunities that are completely unimaginable and something that requires innovation from the people who are sitting in the back. We have already talked about, say, 1 billion, we are 900 million, 800 million, whatever. We'll have the 1 billion, mobile devices in the next in a year or two, whatever. But the next 10 billion of these devices are not going to come from mobile phones. We just don't have that many people. Most of these are going to come from sensors, devices. People are already using devices as wearable devices. We are looking at sensors for measuring, say, electricity meters, to cars being on the internet, and all of these kinds of things. So there is a very exciting confluence between technology and the applications of technology in various devices. The ability to do this at a reasonable price has started to happen, and this is, I think, a good opportunity for people to think about how do you leverage these networks for the next level of activities. In terms of the Internet of Things, once you have a lot of these kinds of sensors that are creating lots of data on an ongoing basis, the amount of data that we are going to collect is growing out of control in some sense. So people are talking about brontobytes, which is like 10 to the power 27 in terms of the amount of data that's going to get collected. And how do you manage all this data? How do you make meaningful sense out of all of these kinds of data sets is really a challenge and an opportunity for all of us here in India. In terms of the data analytics piece, clearly, there is a lot of data that is getting collected on the network. We have a lot of information that we are sharing on the network, meaning today on a mobile phone, the network knows a lot about where you have been every hour, every minute, who you have talked to, what you may have bought. As we start to looking at data-centric applications of the mobile device, more and more of our information is going to get collected. And this is an opportunity, challenge, and a need for defining how do you manage privacy, security, and all of these kinds of things as well. So some very insightful applications are going to come up with the ability to query all of these interesting data through APIs. So there's a lot of technology stuff that is coming up that will make this infrastructure available where you can make next set of applications happen on top of that. So just to summarize, the 3 technology vectors which I think are very important and will build on for the next set of things is one, of course, is the fact that cloud computing is very important, and it is happening already, and that is going to make it possible to build applications that can be shared across a large number of users. The second part was the stuff around devices. You're going to see devices beyond mobile phones, which are used by people by things, machines, network of things as they call it. And finally, the large amounts of data that's going to get collected, it creates an opportunity in terms of what needs to happen. And since today's theme is relating to education, healthcare, and commerce, I thought I'd pick a few application areas where we have an opportunity to create disruptions because of the fact that we now have the infrastructure, the technologies in place, and then can we leverage those into specific applications. So I don't want to go through this list, but clearly the fact that we can do video on mobile phones, which are now fairly inexpensive, give an opportunity to school children who now have access to information that was not very easily available in the past. There are several efforts where professors in IIT and at the best places in the world have been delivering lectures that are now available to every single person who wants to get to it, irrespective of where they may be located. So there is a lot of opportunities in terms of where training and skill development will not depend anymore on being physically located in a place, but use of interesting technology can really change how we look at some of these problems that Commodore Jena mentioned, that we need to have 10 million people who need to get skilled. We cannot really skill them one at a time in colleges alone. We need to use some of these technologies to really change the game, and I think a lot of this is already happening, And in the next few years, I see a remarkable difference in terms of how education is going to change because of the technology availability and the internet capabilities of schools in general. Healthcare, again, as is being mentioned many times, we have a population that is growing very fast and also has a component of population that is aging, and as we have our own health challenges, the lack of doctors in cities or even in rural areas is fairly well known. So again, we need to find some innovative ways of trying to make this happen. And Hemant pointed out that 10% increase in mobile penetration and broadband penetration results in 2.5%, 3%, 2% growth in the GDP. And one of the main reasons why that will happen is only if we do innovative stuff with the broadband and the bandwidth. It can't just be because we have bandwidth, but because we use these bandwidth for doing some interesting and innovative applications. Again, I want to go through this rather fast. There are lots of devices that are coming up, and these are all interesting opportunities to create innovative solutions here. I'm putting a small plug for one of the software that we have. So we have a E911 service that we run in the US for one of the carriers where there is a medical emergency or any kind of emergency. You can dial the number and you will get access to an emergency service. I think we don't have something like this in India, and we think there is an opportunity to do some of this kind of stuff here. And one of the, again, related to the China problem that was mentioned by Commodore Jina, I think if India, we started to buy from Indian companies, you will start to see better success for companies, because finally it's not about investment, it's about return. So people will invest as long as they see returns. And we are an entrepreneurial country, and if we see returns, more and more people will invest. So that's, I think, where we need to focus rather than focusing just on investment. So if this, again, a small pitch. I'm going to skip through this slide. And finally, I think mobile commerce is really going to happen in a big way as we start to see a platform getting created. Shopping on mobile is already happening. Mobile banking, Book My Show kinds of applications are already very popular. Mobile wallets and mobile money, I think, needs some regulation over the next few years, but I am quite sure it will happen, and we will see more of this to come up. Now, with this, let me summarize to say that, yes, we already have the necessary infrastructure to make interesting things happen. The data networks and data technology is already starting to happen. There are application areas that are very local that can be exploited, and we are really well set for doing that. So now, what is the challenges that we need to have? So specifically, I want to go back to 3 things that I'm going to add to this. I think, as was mentioned by Commodore Jina, I think it's very important that we encourage entrepreneurs to make this happen. Depending on government or jobs is not the way to make this happen. And I think with the kinds of opportunities that can be built out on top of the infrastructure, I think I would encourage people to think about new ways of building the next generation of applications that combine data on a network that can be built to scale so that they can be reaching a large number of our population. And the fact that we now have the market to deal with this large numbers of people. So if we wrote an application or we had a good solution, today we have a market that can deliver it. And one important thing that I wanted to mention in this context is that one of the challenges about why we don't have a very good success on some of the products and some of the technologies, and why do we see lots of one-off solutions in the country. And if you look at many of the problems that people talk about, and we did a bunch of conferences recently around innovation, we don't have a shortage of innovation. There are lots of innovators who have great ideas. But most of these ideas remain prototypes and pilots. We are not able to take them to scale. And one of the reasons why we are not able to scale this is, of course, we don't understand the customer very well. So when people who are building technology, they think only about technology and not about the user and the cost and the whole economics of why people should buy your product. So unless we get the young people in the room to start thinking about why a product will make sense and why you can make money and why should somebody spend the money to buy your products. So that aspect of building products is something that I find is quite missing in the many entrepreneurs that I meet on a regular basis. So I think with this I want to end here and encourage all of you to think about several opportunities that we are creating for the market. There are many opportunities for entrepreneurs. This is, I think, what we have seen right now has been the infrastructure building part of the telecom industry. The next 5 years, I would say, are going to be driven by applications, data, and taking these interesting applications to the rural and the masses across the country. So with this, I'd like to thank the organizers for inviting me here, and wish all the students all the best and a great day of deliberations today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Deshpande, for showing us the opportunities for entrepreneurs, and I'm sure the students here will make use of the opportunities. I now invite Dr. Deshpande, Commodore Gina, and the members on the dais to unveil the Teletech 2014 report. Can we get the report? The theme for this year, enabling growth and serving the masses. Can we have a round of applause? This is the 5th edition of Teletech. Thank you so much. Now, before we close the inaugural function, I also invite Major Neil Castellino of CII to felicitate the members by giving mementos. Dr. Anand Deshpande. Commodore Gina. Thank you so much. And Mr. Hemant Joshi. Thank you, sir.